So hey, I'm not really trying to make this one like super long, but watch me, it will be. Let me see. Okay, so yes. Anyways, I don't want to talk about the views. Actually, first we'll get started with that first because mine dropped significantly. Don't know why people aren't getting notifications. It's very strange because it went from having some to having none. Anyways, so seeing Get Out. It came out about 6 years ago. Oh, wow. And it was, you know, pretty much a game changer. It wasn't not a game changer. Everything about it was a game changer. And pretty much an autobiography of some like people's lives, you know. Like in regards to how some events unfolded. Like, yes. I missed an eye brush that I like meant to clean, but I don't think I'm gonna use it. I have like several different options that I actually cleaned. This is, I don't know if they really sell it anymore, but yeah. So anyways, this is gonna be about Get Out. Came out like 6 years ago, and like the way it was done, you know, on a budget, it was done fairly well by Jordan Peele. Like, if you recognize the name, he was on Mad TV, and he did some other movies like outside of that. But that's where I knew him from, was Mad TV. And honestly, he was very funny on the show. So to take this turn and go from like super funny to kind of like I don't know if you would call that movie a dark comedy, but anyways, so yeah, this movie is about Chris and Rose. I think the girl who plays Rose, I think her name's Allison. And then the guy who played Chris, the black boyfriend, is Daniel Kaluuya. I think that's how you say his name. And I forgot the name guy who plays Rod. I forgot his like real name. Dang, I kind of put too much. But anyways, so starts off with Childish Gambino song, pretty classic song, and Rose is at some sort of bakery or something. And then Chris is like shaving his face and getting ready, and eventually Rose gets back to the apartment. I'm not sure if they shared or not, but Rose shows up to the apartment, and Chris is done getting ready, and this is the day of, and Chris, a man, has not already packed, which I gotta be honest, I find that hard to believe, if I gotta be completely honest. Usually they're ones to pack way beforehand. But he miraculously was not. So he was still packing because Rose was asking him, like, if he had like his comfy clothes, which I feel like demographic wise, that is something they would say, if I gotta be honest. Hold on. Like, they would be like, you got your comfy clothes? Which, okay, But anyways, and actually, I missed the part. The very beginning, when a guy that you'll see later on in the movie gets kidnapped, he gets taken. And he's trying to find somebody's house at night, and he, for some reason, doesn't have a car. I guess it's because his character is from New York, but he doesn't have a car. And so he's walking around in a random neighborhood, and Rose's brother, who also you will meet later on because that car is gonna look familiar, he shows up, snatches the guy from behind, and chokes him out. And then that's when we cut to Rose and Chris. So anyways, we cut back to Rose and Chris. And they're getting ready, and then they eventually leave, you know. So they leave, and Rose is driving because Chris doesn't drive, and it's also due to something that you will find out later, but I'm just gonna spoil it because it's been out for like 6 years. His mom died in a hit and run, so I guess the trauma is too real. So he doesn't drive. He just has a state issued ID, and he doesn't drive. So yeah, there's that. Anyways, I'm gonna be using this significantly older palette, but whatever. It's trying times, and nobody's gonna be buying a palette 24/7. Not I. So yes. So yeah, Rose and Chris are heading up to her parents, and at some point on their way there, I guess when they're pretty close to her parents, they hit a deer in broad daylight, that's never a good sign. And it was a buck, which is important also. So they get to Rose's parents' house. Oh, and I also forgot to mention the police. The cop, he asks Chris for his ID. Rose stands up for Chris. She's like, I can't have anybody, basically bullying her man. Just so cute and all, but it's like, once you like find out that her family is like, black people snatching, it's like, well, she just doing that just look good in Chris's eyes? Or does she genuinely want to stick up for him? I'm going for the first one. She just wanted to look good in front of Chris. So yeah, she does that, argues with the cop. Why do you need his ID? I was the one driving. I was the one driving, trying to be all upstanding and whatnot. And it's like, girl, calm down. Okay, because you're going to get me in trouble talking all that mess. And then they eventually leave. They make it to Rose's parents. And her parents are like, like if it was 2016, but they were like trapped in like the 80s somehow, trying to impress the new person, except impress them only because of their like race and not because like, they're a good person. And it's kind of wild. So So yeah, and then Rose's dad asks how long has this been going on, but he says it in a way that's like off-putting. Like he's like, how long has this thing been going on? And I so hate the way he says it and the way he phrases it. Oh my gosh, you can really see how I'm so sorry. Like you can see like he like phrases it in such an odd way. It's like very Like, dang, is he saying this like in a like casual like racist way, or is he just like being like in a way naive about it? But yes, anyways, so Rose's dad takes Chris like around a tour around the house, but basically just to talk to him and see like what's up, what is he about and stuff. And then he starts talking about his parents and his dad specifically. Talking about his dad didn't even make it past like the preliminaries, basically, with the Olympics. He got outchosen by Jesse Owens. And apparently his dad never got over that. Well, he said he almost got over it, which is a weird way of putting it. But when you later find out that his dad is inside of a black man's body, well, I guess that's him almost getting over it. And then his Rose's dad, when he's like, you know, my parents died, and then he talks about his mom, and we always keep a piece of her in the kitchen. Then they walk into the kitchen, and guess who's in there? Georgina. But Georgina isn't like Georgina, because having like black maids during this time frame, or any year after 1890, weird. So yeah, he's like, we always keep a piece of my mom in here, and then Georgina is just standing there in such a weird manner. You do, just staring in like a weird way, and it's really Rose's grandma, but we don't know that yet. So yeah. Oh, and when they're walking towards the kitchen, there's a door closed to the downstairs, and Rose's dad is like, yeah, there's a bunch of black mold down there, which I watched someone else's video and they were like, that's like a play on words or something, which I like had agreed with. I know that was a horrible way of explaining it, and I forgot who said that. So you're just gonna have to find out. I'm sorry. So yeah, dad was like, yeah, we got a bunch of black mold down there. And then they pan to Georgina, and they're like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. They always keep a piece of my mom in here. It's like, that's your mom in there, because you're taking black people and stealing their souls. Ways. And yeah. So after that, he walks him outside, and he's like, I know how this looks. And Chris was like, I wasn't gonna say anything. He's like, you didn't have to. So now we're just assuming you know what I'm thinking. Great. Duly noted. So anyways, then they catch Chris sees Walter outside. That's where the grandpa is. He's in Walter. Walter is a black man. Grandpa never got over his almost loss to Jesse Owens, because he didn't even race him. He just, for the preliminaries, I guess, he just didn't make it past that point, which I guess, oh no. So then eventually Rose and Chris are walking around, and they eat dinner after Rose's parents try and convince Chris to do hypnotism. So like Chris was like, no thanks, and they're like, okay, in that like way that, you know, they're not accepting of his answer, but they're, you know, in that way they're like doing it. Oh, and then also when the parents are trying to convince him to do hypnotism, Rose's weird brother shows up, because he's just so special. And then they get to dinner, and again, Rose's weird brother acts a fool, tells his mom about a party that happened in high school, and they're like, you know, having a nice little bit of conversation. Rose's mom gets up to get carrot cake. Worst cake ever, okay? I will not argue. It's like, I'll pass. So yeah, worst cake ever. Anyways, when Rose's mom walks in the kitchen, it's one of those flap doors. Georgina is just like staring. It's like so weird. Like if I was Chris, I would have left already. Nothing could have convinced me to stay at this house. And I'm just getting stared at by my own people. It's very off-putting. And then, oh, that's his name, Jeremy. Rose's brother's name is Jeremy. So Jeremy asks Chris, before the dad asks what sport he is, because all black people play sports. Anyways, so yeah, Jeremy asks Chris if he's an MMA fan. Chris was like, no, jiu-jitsu is like more of my thing. He was like, with your genetic makeup and your structure, you know, MMA is like better for you. He's like, no. Which is like, okay. And then Jeremy gets up to wrestle Chris. Jeez, this man cannot take no for an answer. Gets up to wrestle Chris, and then they're like, no, Jeremy, stop. I'm like, such a casual way, it's kind of concerning. And then the mom comes back with the carrot cake. And after that, Rose is so upset by this weird thing that her parents are doing. It's like she's a little bit too much of an ally. Person is like, you are way more upset than I am, and I already told you this was gonna happen. You just not wanting to listen to me? That's what it seems like. So then she's brushing her teeth. I can't believe they would say that. I can't believe they would actually say that. I'm sorry that I'm related to them. After this, they have a little rendezvous, and then Chris cannot sleep for the life of him. That's because, Chris, you're not listening to yourself and your intuition, okay? You're not listening to it. You're doing the exact opposite, okay? You're staying here when you should be leaving. So then Chris gets up to go for a walk and maybe have a smoke. Why are you standing out there just trying to get in the fresh air? Oh my gosh, I said his name before. It's not Marlon. Walter. Which, those are very old names, and I feel like those are his parents' names. The dad's parents? I feel like those are the dad's parents' names. Anyways, so Walter is still in his outfit from earlier. It's nighttime at this point. Why does he not have on pajamas? He was running towards Chris. This was the most frightening thing in 2017, but now it's a mere fond, distant memory. So he's running towards Chris. It was a GIF for the longest. He's running towards Chris, and then Chris is like, what in the world? And that was the weirdest thing ever. And then Chris gets spooked by that. And then he looks up at the window and sees Georgina just staring again. She has a real problem with, like, she's looking at the mirror, like, but like she can't like see that someone is outside, which I guess is a nice feature. Anyways, while Chris is gonna try and go back to bed and forget about this nonsense, guess who's in the foyer? We're just gonna call it that. Rose's mom, a psychiatrist. She's like, do you know how bad smoking is? Do you smoke in front of my daughter? A grown woman who can easily walk out of the room if somebody's smoking in front of her and she doesn't like it, or break up with him? Like, be for real, Rose's mom. Be for real. So then she's like, have a seat, have a seat. She's clinking her little teacup. clinking it. Okay. So she clinks it, right? Tells Chris to chill, sit down. He sits down eventually, unwillingly. He goes through like the trauma, talking about his mom dying. He really doesn't want to talk about it, which I can't blame him. I just met you people today. Why would I want to talk about my trauma, about my mom dying with you, and I just met you? So yeah, they do that, and after she clink clink, Chris is unfortunately in the second place, which is the term for a little bit after that movie came out that you're a black person in the second place. So yeah, Chris was in the second place, and then the next day, because it just goes to the next day, Chris like wakes up still in his nighttime outfit, and so yeah, and then Rose is in the shower. She gets out, and he's like, "Yeah, I feel like your mom hypnotized me." She's like, "What?" In almost the most disbelievable way. She's like, "What? I can't believe that. It's crazy. Really?" You know, he's in between this. Chris has talked to his friend, and then that actually is when her weird, eccentric, extended family come for this weird gathering they have, aka I'm just gonna call it this, the Black Snatching. They come for the Black Snatching annual event. Okay, they do that, and Chris is the new one there, so they have to get him in some way, shape, or form, but make it stealth and not obvious. Because why would you make it obvious? You're gonna ruin the event. So, oh my gosh, this is where I put. Can you even see it? Oh my gosh. Okay, alright, that's kind of like a bump under my eye, which is not a great thing. Anyways, besides the bump. So anyways, this little shindig goes on. They're talking about Chris's muscles and being very inappropriate for the event. Asking Rose, is it better? If you know what I mean. Asking her if it's better. And then talking about, one of them said he knows Tiger, but they said it like Tyga, like the rapper. Tiger is like Chinese and like something else, and also black. Like he's not just black. So it's just, anyways. And then we see the black guy from the beginning that got snatched, but he's not the same. He actually, believe it or not, is a white man trapped inside. No, my bad. He's inside of the black man's body. The black man's body is just, you know, for display. He's not actually able, like, to be in control. Anyways, so yeah, like Chris goes up to him, and then it's like Chris was talking to not himself. Sorry. So yeah. Yeah. So that happens. Chris is like really bamboozled. And like eventually we like reach a point where Chris takes a picture of him. I forgot the character's name. We're just gonna call him Lamont. So he takes a picture of Lamont. And I hate how this is reflecting and it's not gonna end, is it? Nope. So Chris takes a picture of Lamont, and Lamont freaks out. Turns out that was his real person telling him to get out. So Chris, get out. He didn't take the hint. Also, Georgina has been unplugging his phone the whole entire day. What a menace. Next, Chris calls Rod, tells him what's up, and he says they've been making them sex slaves. Which is almost true, but not completely true, and I'm sure this actually happened in real life, but hey, that's a story for another day. So anyways, the whole family freaks out. Rose and Chris take a walk, and I was like, oh, you want to leave? Yes, I want to leave. I'm uncomfortable. Your family keeps touching me in a weird way, and they keep asking about my blackness. It's concerning, and it's weird. It's odd that you don't find a problem with this. Actually, I know you don't find a problem with this because you're not in my shoes. Your family's so eccentric, you accept it. Weirdo. After they come back from their little walk, it's nighttime, and the family, Rose's family, is being very odd. I would have just ran away. He would have found a way. But he didn't. He stayed. Again, because I do these so late. Because I'm doing them after work. But anyways, yes. And I'm just going to zoom past this important part. You'll be okay. It's on Tubi for free. How long? I don't know. So, anyways. They eventually, Chris is like, Rose, I want to leave. They go to pack their stuff. Pack their stuff. Chris goes in the closet to see, I guess, find more of his stuff. And funny enough, he finds Rose's pictures of her old significant others. By the way, they're all black. At the beginning, she said, you're my first black boyfriend. Liar. So he finds that. Shocker discovery. And then he doesn't ask Rose about it. She's like, I can't find the keys. Like, girl, we know you're lying. Ooh, hold on, let me put it back. Like, girl, we know you're lying. So then they go downstairs, I guess, to say they're leaving, and she still can't find the keys. And eventually, she's like, I can't let you leave, right? In the most normal voice, she was putting on an act. So then they tap, knock Chris out. Jeremy has been getting on my nerves this whole entire time. There's real life Jeremys. Ones that act just like that. It's ridiculous. Real life Jeremys. So then they go to knock Chris out. And then he wakes up in we're just gonna call it the sunken place real life room. TV comes on explaining to him what's it called, what's going on, and then the blind art dealer that Chris is talking to, because he's an artist on the same level as Chris, kind of, so he understands where he's coming from. They did that so that way Chris would have someone to connect with. So then blind art dealer, which, yes, it doesn't make any sense, tells Chris what's up, tell him he picked Chris and that he wants his eyes because Chris can see. Also, he's a photographer, so I feel like that's a play on words or something. So anyways, Chris does that. And, they tell him that. And eventually, Chris, at some point, gets cotton in his ears. And Jeremy comes down to get him at one point. He socks Jeremy upside the head with a rock or something. He eventually makes it upstairs, kills the dad, kills the mom. She had to go. Miss Persistent. And gets done with the stabbing of the spoon. Spoons are relevant. Yep. So then, after Chris kills those two people, he walks upstairs. And you think Jeremy's dead? Absolutely not. Chris is about to open the door. Jeremy comes back to life. He should have been dead after that upside his head. So anyways, he does that. And eventually he does kill Jeremy by stomping him out. Face stomp. Just so he does that. He gets outside, and then Georgina, not minding her business, runs out and gets hit by Chris while he's driving. And then she makes him crash, saying, you ruined my life. No, y'all stealing black people ruined your life, but hey, whatever. So then they do that, and then Rose like, get him, Grandpa. by the way, she was eating cereal by itself, which isn't the weird part because I've done that before, but she had milk separately. Girl, get help. So then Walter catches up to them after the crash. Rose walks up. She gets shot in the stomach. Yes, some reason, not the head. Chris tries to choke her, but she says, "I love you," and he is weak at the knees. Doesn't work though. He doesn't kill her, but he also doesn't say, "I love you too," so whatever. Oh, I forgot Walter. And then eventually you see police sirens. And good news is it's not the actual police. It's TSA. Rod, Chris's friend. Sorry, I kind of didn't mention his name, or if I did, then it's Rod. He shows up. Chris is relieved, and they dip. He also mentioned, "I told you not to go in that house." Chris didn't want to listen, so he goes into the house. I was about to start the whole thing over. So he gets into the car. Chris is out of there. Freedom. And when Rod tried to report it to the police, no one believed him. They laughed. It almost is like real life. Anyways, if I can find Us, I'll try it. I'm gonna read that one too. Like if I can find it, I'll do it. This is how it should look all the time. But anyways, stay tuned for more.